What would you do if your ex stole your business using your own sister against you? I should have known something was wrong when Derek texted me at 2 in the morning asking if I still had the measurements for my Yoruba goddess costume design, 3 months after we broke up. But you know how it is when you are knee-deep in fabric samples and Halloween is breathing down your neck. You do not think twice about an ex asking weird questions. I just figured he was drunk and missing me. God, I was so naive. My name is Maya Okafor and I run Curvy Cultural Costumes, a business I started 2 years ago in my one-bedroom apartment in Oakland. The concept came to me after spending another disappointing Halloween searching for plus-size costumes that were not just regular costumes with more fabric. Everything was either a witch, a nurse, or some variation of sexy something that looked ridiculous on my size 18 frame. I wanted costumes that celebrated culture, that made women like me feel powerful and beautiful. So I taught myself to sew, spent countless hours researching traditional garments from around the world, and created stunning costumes inspired by African royalty, Indian Maharanis, Japanese empresses, and Aztec goddesses. Each piece was handmade, carefully constructed to flatter curves, and came with a card explaining the cultural significance and my research process. I was not appropriating, I was celebrating and educating. The business grew slowly but steadily. My first Halloween I sold 12 costumes. Last year I sold 67. This year I had already taken in $15,000 in pre-orders for 83 costumes, and I was finally seeing my dream of financial independence becoming reality. Derek had been there through most of this journey. We dated for 8 months, breaking up in June when I caught him going through my phone. He claimed he was just looking for the pizza place number, but I found deleted texts to his ex and decided I was done with his lies. Still, during our relationship he had been supportive of my business, even helpful. He was a marketing professional at a tech startup, and he gave me advice on social media strategy, helped me build my website, and convinced me to start an email newsletter. He also had access to everything. My designs, my customer database, my supplier contacts, my pricing spreadsheets. I trusted him completely back then. The first sign of trouble came on a Tuesday morning in early October. I was at my local fabric store, Empress Textiles, picking up some gold threading for a Cleopatra costume when Mrs. Chen, the owner, gave me a strange look. "Maya, dear, I saw your costumes online yesterday. Very beautiful work, but the prices seem so high now." I frowned, setting down the spool of thread. "What do you mean, Mrs. Chen?" "The website, Cultural Queens Costumes. Same designs as yours, but much more expensive. I thought maybe you raised your prices." My stomach dropped. "Can you show me?" She pulled out her phone and navigated to a sleek website that made my simple Squarespace page look amateur. Cultural Queens Costumes featured professional photos of models wearing costumes that looked exactly like mine. The Yoruba goddess design with the intricate beadwork I had spent 3 weeks perfecting. The Bollywood Maharani costume with the hand-embroidered sari I had sourced from a textile artist in Mumbai. The Aztec sun goddess with the feathered headdress that had taken me 2 months to research and construct. But the prices were insane. My Yoruba goddess costume sold for $250. Theirs was listed at $750. "This cannot be right," I whispered, scrolling through page after page of my stolen designs. Mrs. Chin patted my shoulders sympathetically. "I am sorry, dear. I thought you should know." I drove home in a daze, my mind racing. How was this possible? Who would steal my designs so blatantly? And how did they have such professional photos and marketing materials? Back in my apartment, I dug deeper into the Cultural Queens website. The About Us page featured a photo of a man in a suit standing next to racks of colorful costumes. My heart stopped when I recognized the smile. Derek Chen. The bio described him as a marketing entrepreneur who had developed a revolutionary approach to culturally inspired Halloween costumes. It mentioned his background in digital marketing and his partnership with an experienced designer and manufacturer. There was no mention of me, of course. I screenshot everything, my hands shaking with rage. Then I called Derek. "Maya, hey," he answered after 4 rings, his voice overly casual. "What's up?" "What the hell is Cultural Queens Costumes, Derek?" Silence. Then a nervous laugh. "Oh, you found that. Look, I can explain. You stole my designs. I did not steal anything. These are original designs that I developed with my business partner. If there are some similarities to your work, well, great minds think alike, right? I could not believe the audacity. Derek, these are identical to my costumes. Down to the beadwork patterns and fabric choices. Look, Maya, you do not own African culture or Indian culture or any culture. These are traditional designs that have existed for centuries. You cannot copyright culture. But I can copyright my specific interpretations and constructions. Those photos show costumes that are exactly like mine. His tone shifted, becoming colder. Actually, Maya, I think you might want to be careful about making accusations. My business partner has some concerns about your use of traditional patterns that belong to her family. We would hate to have to pursue legal action for cultural appropriation and copyright infringement. The line went dead. I stared at my phone in disbelief. Not only had he stolen my designs, but now he was threatening to sue me. I spent the rest of the day documenting everything. I had photos of every costume I had ever made, dating back 2 years. I had receipts for all my materials, emails with suppliers, and customer testimonials. I also had photos of Derek wearing some of my early prototypes from when we were dating, which proved he had access to my designs. But as I built my case, a nagging worry grew in my stomach. Derek was not creative enough to pull off something this elaborate on his own. He had mentioned a business partner, someone who supposedly had concerns about me using traditional patterns. Who was this partner, and what exactly were they claiming? The next morning I called my best friend Jasmine, who worked as a paralegal at a small firm in San Francisco. "This is seriously messed up, Maya," she said after I explained the situation. "But you need to be strategic about how you handle this. First, document everything. Second, find out who his business partner is. Third, do not do anything on social media until we know what we are dealing with legally. But Jazz, Halloween is in 3 weeks. If my customers see his website and think I am a knockoff, I will lose everything. I know, but if you make accusations without proof and he really does have grounds for a lawsuit, you could lose more than your business. You could lose your apartment, your car, everything." That afternoon I started detective work. The Cultural Queen's website listed a business address in Emeryville, just 20 minutes from my apartment. I drove over and found a sleek office building with a reception desk and everything. This was not some fly-by-night operation. I asked the receptionist about Cultural Queen's costumes, pretending to be interested in wholesale purchasing. She directed me to the 4th floor, Suite 401. I took the elevator up, my heart pounding. Through the glass doors I could see a small office space with several sewing stations, fabric samples hanging on the walls, and a conference table covered with my stolen designs. A woman with short natural hair was bent over one of the sewing machines, working on what looked like my Moroccan princess costume. I knocked on the door, and the woman looked up. My blood turned to ice. It was my sister Kimmy. We had not spoken in 3 years, not since our father died and we fought over his estate. Kimmy had wanted to sell his house and split the money. I had wanted to keep it in the family. The fight had gotten ugly, with accusations and hurt feelings that cut deep. She thought I was being sentimental and impractical. I thought she was being cold and money-hungry. We both said things we could not take back. Now here she was, in an office full of my stolen costume designs, working with my ex-boyfriend to destroy my business. She looked up and our eyes met through the glass. Her expression shifted from concentration to surprise to something I could not quite read. She set down her work and walked to the door. "Maya," she said as she opened it. "I was wondering when you would show up." "Kimmy." I stepped into the office, looking around at the evidence of betrayal. "So you are Derek's business partner?" "I am." She crossed her arms defensively. "And before you start yelling, you should know that Derek came to me. He told me about your little business and how you were using our family's traditional patterns without permission. Our family's patterns. The Yoruba designs, Maya. Those beadwork patterns on your goddess costume. Those are from Grandma Denny's wedding dress. The ones you took photos of when we were cleaning out Dad's house." I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. She was right. I had used those patterns, but I thought they were just traditional designs. I did not realize they had specific family significance. Kimmy, I did not know. If you had just told me. Told you what? You made it clear you did not want anything to do with the family after Dad died. You kept his house, you kept his things, and you cut me out completely. Then I find out you are profiting off our grandmother's designs without even acknowledging where they came from. That is not fair. I tried to reach out after the funeral, but you were so angry. And you were so righteous. Acting like you were the only one who cared about preserving Dad's legacy while I was just some greedy person trying to cash in. We stood there staring at each other, 3 years of hurt and resentment filling the space between us. But I was not here to rehash old family drama. Even if I made mistakes with the family patterns, that does not give you the right to steal all my other designs. The Indian costumes, the Aztec ones, the Egyptian designs. Those have nothing to do with our family. Kimmy shifted uncomfortably. Derek said you were copying traditional designs and claiming them as your own original work. He said you were appropriating cultures and making money off it. And you believed him. He had photos, Maya. Photos of costumes that looked exactly like traditional garments. He said you were calling them your original designs and charging premium prices. I pulled out my phone and showed her my website. Look at my product descriptions, Kimmy. I always explain the cultural significance. I always credit the traditional origins. I spent months researching each design to make sure I was being respectful. This is not appropriation, it is appreciation. She read through several of my costume descriptions, her frown deepening. Then she looked around the office at the mass-produced versions of my work. Derek told me you were just throwing these together quickly and selling them as authentic cultural pieces. He said the quality was terrible and you were giving traditional designs a bad name. And what does this place do that is any better? Kimmy did not answer, but I could see doubt creeping into her expression. Where's Derek anyway? I asked. He is at the factory in Fremont, overseeing production. Maya, we have orders for over 300 costumes. We are manufacturing them at scale. With my designs. With traditional designs that no one owns. Look at this. I showed her side-by-side photos of my costumes and the ones on Derek's website. These are not just similar. They are identical. Down to the specific bead placement and fabric choices. He copied my work exactly. Kimmy studied the photos, and I could see her confidence wavering. He said he researched the traditional methods and recreated them authentically. In 3 months. After dating me for 8 months and having access to all my work. Kimmy, he played us both. Before she could respond, Derek walked through the office door carrying coffee and pastries. He stopped short when he saw me. Maya, what are you doing here? This is private property. I invited her in, Kimmy said quietly. Derek shot her a sharp look. We talked about this, Kimmy. She is trying to sabotage our business because she cannot handle competition. Is that what you told her? I said. That I'm just jealous of your success. I told her the truth. That you are using traditional designs without permission and claiming them as your own original work. That you are appropriating cultures for profit and giving handmade businesses a bad reputation. I laughed bitterly. That is rich, coming from someone who is mass-producing my designs in a factory and selling them for triple the price. These are not your designs, Maya. They are traditional. Show him, I interrupted, pulling out my phone. I scrolled to a photo from 6 months ago of Derek wearing one of my early prototypes, a samurai-inspired costume with intricate armor details. Explain this, Derek. How is it that you are wearing my original samurai design 6 months ago, and now you have an identical costume for sale on your website? Derek's face went pale. Kimmy looked back and forth between us, realization dawning. You said these were all traditional designs, she said slowly. They are. Maya probably copied that from historical examples, just like I did. Derek, I said, opening my photo album. I have 2 years of documentation. Photos of every stage of development for every costume. Receipts for materials. Correspondence with cultural consultants and historians. I can prove the timeline of my creative process for each design. I showed them both photos of my design sketches, my fabric selection process, my prototype fittings. The evidence was overwhelming. And I have this, I said, scrolling to a screenshot of an email Derek had sent me 8 months ago. Remember when you suggested I raise my prices because my costumes were so much better than anything else on the market? You wrote, quote, "Maya, your original designs are incredible. You should be charging at least $500 for the goddess costume because the attention to detail is unlike anything I have ever seen," end quote. Derek's jaw tightened. That was just supportive boyfriend talk. Was it supportive boyfriend talk when you copied my customer database too? I showed them a screenshot of his website's newsletter sign-up, which included several customer email addresses I recognized from my own list. These are my customers, Derek. People who bought from me last year and gave me permission to email them about new designs. Kimmy was staring at Derek with growing disgust. You told me you built this customer base through market research and targeted advertising. I did. Maya, just because we have some overlapping customers does not mean I stole your list. Really? I pulled up my MailChimp account and showed them both my subscriber list, then Derek's website contact form. 17 of the first 20 email addresses on your list are identical to mine, including the typos. Like this one, sarah.johnson@my.com, see the missing L. That is not a coincidence, Derek. The evidence was damning, and even Derek seemed to realize his story was falling apart. But instead of backing down, he doubled down. Fine, maybe I used some of your contacts, but that does not change the fact that you are appropriating traditional designs. Kimmy, show her the legal letter. Kimmy hesitated, then walked to the conference table and picked up an official-looking document. Maya, I am sorry, but we have consulted with a lawyer about your use of our family's traditional patterns. This is a cease and desist order demanding that you stop selling any costumes that use Yoruba designs. I took the letter and read through it quickly. It was from a law firm I had never heard of, and it made several claims about intellectual property and cultural appropriation. But something about it felt off. Can I take a photo of this? I asked. Kimmy nodded, and I quickly snapped pictures of all 3 pages. Then I looked closer at the letterhead. Kimmy, when did you get this letter? Last week. Why? Look at the date. I pointed to the corner of the page. This is dated 2 weeks ago, but the law firm's address is listed as 1200 Market Street in San Francisco. That building was demolished last month for construction. I know because my friend Jasmine's law firm had to relocate. Kimmy frowned and looked at the letter more carefully. That cannot be right. I pulled out my phone and Googled the law firm's name. There is no law firm called Peterson and Associates at that address. In fact, there is no Peterson and Associates anywhere in California. Derek grabbed for the letter. Let me see that. But Kimmy held it away from him. Derek, did you write this letter? Of course not. That would be illegal. Then how do you explain the fake address in the non-existent law firm? Derek was quiet for a long moment, and I could practically see him trying to come up with another lie. Finally, he exploded. Look, the letter might not be real, but the principle is valid. Maya, you are stealing cultural designs and making money off them. Whether or not a lawyer wrote it down does not change the fact that what you are doing is wrong. What I am doing is wrong, I said incredulously. Derek, you copied my business model, stole my designs, took my customer list, and created a fake legal document to intimidate me. And you want to lecture me about ethics? Kimmy was staring at Derek like she was seeing him for the first time. You lied to me. About everything. I did not lie. I just presented the situation in a way that would help you understand. You manipulated me, Kimmy said, her voice getting louder. You used my hurt feelings about Dad and our family drama to convince me to help you steal from my own sister. Kimmy, that is not what happened. Maya has been profiting off your grandmother's designs without giving credit to your family. I just wanted to make sure she faced some consequences. By stealing from her. By creating competition. By showing her that she cannot just claim ownership of traditional cultural designs. With my designs, I interjected. Derek, even if you had legitimate concerns about cultural appropriation, which you clearly do not, that would not give you the right to steal my work and profit from it. Derek ran his hands through his hair, clearly frustrated that his manipulation was not working. Maya, you cannot prove that I stole anything. Traditional designs exist in the public domain. If our costumes look similar to yours, it is because we are both drawing from the same cultural sources. What about the customer list? Coincidence. What about the photo of you wearing my prototype? You probably copied a historical example that I also found. What about this? I pulled out my phone and showed him a screenshot I had taken earlier. Your website has a photo of a model wearing what you call your original Moroccan princess design. But look at this. I scrolled to a photo in my album from 3 months ago. This is the exact same costume, photographed in my apartment. You can see my kitchen in the background. Derek looked at the photo, and for the first time since I had arrived, he seemed genuinely caught. The costume in his professional marketing photo was unmistakably the same one from my apartment, down to a small repair I had made to the embroidery on the sleeve. How did you get my costume? I asked quietly. Derek did not answer, but Kimmy was staring at him with growing horror. Derek, where did these costumes come from? The ones we photographed for the website. I sourced them from various suppliers, Derek said weakly. Which suppliers? I do not remember the specific names. Derek, Kimmy said, her voice dangerously calm. Did you steal Maya's actual costumes? The silence stretched between us. Then Derek finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. I still had a key to her apartment. I felt like the world was tilting. You what? After we broke up, I still had your spare key. I was planning to return it, but then I saw your costume collection and I realized how much money you were sitting on. These designs are worth a fortune, Maya. I thought if I just borrowed a few pieces for photos, I could create a marketing campaign that would inspire you to scale up your business. We could have been partners. You broke into my apartment and stole my costumes. I did not break in. I had a key. And I was going to return them. When? I was shaking with rage. When were you going to return the costumes you stole from my apartment so you could start a competing business and undercut my prices? Derek looked around the office like he was searching for an escape route. This got out of hand. I never meant for it to go this far. Kimmy set the fake legal letter down on the table with deliberate care. Derek, I want you to leave. Now. Kimmy, let me explain. We can fix this. We can bring Maya into the partnership and everyone wins. Leave, she repeated, her voice like ice. And do not come back. Derek looked back and forth between us, realized he was outnumbered, and grabbed his jacket. Fine, but you both are making a mistake. This business could be huge. Maya, your designs are good, but your marketing is amateur and your production capacity is limited. I was trying to help you scale. By stealing from me. By showing you what was possible. He headed for the door, then turned back. You have 48 hours to decide if you want to be partners or competitors. After that, I am moving forward with or without you. He left, and Kimmy and I stood in the sudden quiet of the office, surrounded by the evidence of Derek's betrayal. Maya, Kimmy said after a long moment. I am so sorry. I had no idea. I looked at my sister, this woman I had not spoken to in 3 years, who had helped my ex-boyfriend steal my business. I should have been furious with her, but mostly I just felt tired. Why did you believe him? I asked. Kimmy sat down heavily in one of the desk chairs. Because I wanted to believe him. Because I was still angry about Dad, and about feeling shut out of the family, and when Derek showed up with evidence that you were profiting off Grandma's designs without acknowledging where they came from, it felt like more of the same. Like you taking what belonged to the family and keeping it for yourself. I never meant to shut you out. I know. And I never meant to help someone steal from you. She looked around the office. Maya, I put my savings into this. $15,000 for equipment and initial inventory. I was so excited to have a business again, to feel like I was building something meaningful. I sat down across from her, and for the first time in 3 years we were just sisters talking, not adversaries fighting over money and property and who loved Dad more. What kind of business did you have before? I asked. I ran a small tailoring shop in Berkeley for 5 years, before the rent got too high and I had to close. I have been working retail ever since, but I miss creating things. She gestured at the sewing machines and fabric samples. When Derek proposed this partnership, it felt like a chance to get back to what I loved. You are a good seamstress. I remember when you used to alter my clothes in high school. You remember that? Of course I remember. You were always so patient, even when I was picky about the fit. We sat in silence for a moment, both of us probably thinking about how different things might have been if we had just talked to each other instead of letting Derek manipulate our family drama. Maya, what do we do now? Derek said we have 48 hours to decide. Derek does not get to set ultimatums. This is my intellectual property he stole, and these are my designs he is mass-producing. I am going to stop him. How? I thought about what Jasmine had said about being strategic. Derek had given me plenty of ammunition, but I needed to use it carefully. First, I'm going to document everything. The stolen costumes, the fake legal letter, the evidence that he broke into my apartment. Then I'm going to contact my customers and tell them what happened. And then I'm going to make sure Derek faces consequences for what he did. What about me? Kimmy asked quietly. I know I messed up, but this was supposed to be my business too. I looked at her, this sister I had missed more than I wanted to admit, surrounded by sewing equipment and fabric samples that represented her dreams of creative independence. What if we actually became partners? I said. Real partners, not whatever Derek was proposing. You know how to manufacture at scale, and I know the designs and the customer base. We could build something together. Kimmy's eyes widened. Are you serious? I am serious. But first we need to stop Derek from destroying both our businesses. The next 48 hours were a whirlwind of activity. I filed a police report about the stolen costumes and provided evidence of the break-in. I contacted a real lawyer, not a fake one, who confirmed that Derek had committed multiple crimes including theft, fraud, and identity theft. And I reached out to every single one of my customers to explain what had happened and assure them that their orders would be fulfilled. But the most important thing I did was work with Kimmy to craft a social media strategy that would expose Derek's fraud while positioning us as the victims who had overcome his manipulation to build something positive together. We started with a simple Instagram post. A photo of me and Kimmy in my apartment, surrounded by my original costume designs and documentation of my creative process. The caption told our story honestly, explaining how Derek had manipulated both of us, stolen my work, and created a fake business to compete with my legitimate one. 3 years ago, my sister Kimmy and I had a falling out over family issues, and we stopped speaking to each other. Last week I discovered that my ex-boyfriend Derek had convinced her to help him steal my Halloween costume designs and start a competing business. But instead of letting his manipulation destroy our family permanently, Kimmy and I have decided to work together to build something authentic and meaningful. This is what real partnership looks like. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within 12 hours, the post had been shared thousands of times. My customers began commenting with their own stories of Derek's suspicious behavior, things I had not even known about. Apparently, he had been contacting my clients directly, trying to convince them that I was going out of business and they should switch their orders to his company. Local news outlets picked up the story. The Oakland Tribune ran a feature about sister entrepreneurs overcoming family drama to fight back against business theft. A popular lifestyle blogger wrote about the importance of supporting authentic small businesses over knockoff operations. But the real breakthrough came when one of my customers, a woman named Patricia who worked in trademark law, offered to help me research Derek's legal vulnerabilities. She discovered that not only had Derek never trademarked any of his supposed original designs, but he had also registered his business using false information about his manufacturing partnerships and investor backing. Maya, Patricia said over the phone, this guy has committed fraud on multiple levels. The fake legal letter was just the beginning. His whole business is built on lies. Armed with this information, I made one final social media post. A detailed breakdown of Derek's crimes, with photo evidence and legal documentation. I tagged Cultural Queens Costumes, Derek's personal accounts, and every business journal and news outlet I could think of. This is not just about stolen costume designs, I wrote. This is about a pattern of fraud, manipulation, and abuse that affects our entire small business community. Derek Chen used fake legal documents, false advertising, stolen intellectual property, and identity theft to try to destroy a business built by a black woman who refused to be his girlfriend anymore. We cannot let people like this win. The post went viral. Within 24 hours, Derek's website was down, his social media accounts were suspended, and his Emeryville office had a notice of eviction taped to the door. Several of his investors, who apparently had not known about his fraudulent practices, publicly withdrew their support and demanded refunds. But the best part was watching my legitimate business thrive in the aftermath. Orders poured in from customers who wanted to support authentic small business. Other entrepreneurs reached out with offers to collaborate and share resources. And Kimmy and I found ourselves working 18-hour days to fulfill demand for our culturally inspired costumes. "I cannot believe we are booked solid through New Year's," Kimmy said, looking up from the sewing machine where she was putting finishing touches on a beautiful Ghanaian queen costume. "I cannot believe we are working together," I replied, hand-stitching beadwork onto a pharaoh headdress. It was 3 days before Halloween, and we had not only fulfilled all my original orders but taken on dozens of new ones. Derek had disappeared completely after his business collapsed, though I heard through mutual friends that he was facing multiple lawsuits and had moved back in with his parents. "Maya, I need to ask you something," Kimmy said, setting down her work. "The Yoruba designs, the ones from Grandma's dress. Do you really want to keep using those in your business?" I had been thinking about this question for weeks, ever since our confrontation in Derek's office. I think there is a difference between honoring our family's heritage and exploiting it. What if we created a special collection that specifically celebrates our grandmother's legacy, with all the profits going to a scholarship fund in her name? I love that idea. And maybe we could work with other families who want to see their traditional designs honored in the same way. A heritage collection. Costumes created in partnership with families and communities, with shared profits and authentic storytelling. That could be something really special. As Halloween night approached, I found myself reflecting on how much had changed in just 3 weeks. I had started the month worried about fulfilling $15,000 worth of pre-orders. I was ending it with a thriving partnership, an expanded customer base, and a sister I had thought I had lost forever. Derek had tried to destroy my business by stealing my work and manipulating my family relationships. Instead, he had inadvertently brought me and Kimmy back together and shown us both what we were capable of when we worked as a team. On Halloween night, Kimmy and I attended a costume party in Oakland wearing matching Yoruba goddess outfits, updated versions of my original design that incorporated elements from our grandmother's wedding dress with full acknowledgement of their family significance. We spent the evening taking photos with customers wearing our creations, each costume telling a story of cultural celebration and authentic craftsmanship. "I still cannot believe Derek thought he could get away with this," Kimmy said as we were cleaning up the party venue. "I cannot believe I dated him for 8 months, I replied, packing away the last of our promotional materials. "What do you think he is doing right now?" "Probably trying to convince some other woman that his failed business was all her fault." We both laughed, but there was an edge to it. Derek's manipulation had been real and damaging, and it had taken months of work to undo the harm he had caused. The fake legal letter had scared away 2 potential investors who thought I was facing a lawsuit. The stolen customer list had confused several clients who received competing marketing emails. And the stress of fighting his fraud while trying to fulfill orders had nearly driven me to a breakdown. But ultimately, Derek's scheme had backfired spectacularly. By trying to steal my work and manipulate my family, he had forced me to become more organized, more strategic, and more collaborative than I had ever been before. He had also underestimated the loyalty of my customers and the power of authentic storytelling in the age of social media. 6 months later, Curvy Cultural Costumes had become Okafor Sisters Design, a year-round business specializing in culturally inspired formal wear and costume design. We had moved out of my apartment and into a proper studio space in West Oakland, complete with multiple sewing stations, a fitting room, and a small retail area. Derek, meanwhile, had moved to Portland and was apparently working at a marketing agency, though he lasted only 3 months before being fired for undisclosed reasons. I heard through mutual friends that he had tried to start another business venture, something involving vintage clothing resale, but it had failed to get off the ground when his investors discovered his history of fraud. I do not spend much time thinking about Derek anymore, but when I do, I feel something close to gratitude. Not for what he did, which was wrong and harmful and could have destroyed everything I had worked for, but for what his betrayal revealed about the strength of my real relationships, the loyalty of my customers, and my own resilience when faced with adversity. Most of all, I am grateful that his manipulation brought me back together with Kimmy. We had both been carrying hurt and resentment for 3 years, letting pride and miscommunication keep us apart. It took Derek's fraud to show us that our differences were not nearly as important as our shared values and family bonds. Today, Okafor Sisters Design employs 6 people and has expanded beyond costumes into custom formal wear, wedding attire, and cultural celebration outfits. We work with artisans and cultural consultants from around the world to ensure our designs are both authentic and respectful. And every piece comes with a card explaining its cultural significance and the story of its creation. We also established the Adeni Okafor Heritage Foundation, which provides scholarships for young women studying fashion design and textile arts. The foundation is funded partly by our Heritage Collection, which features traditional designs created in partnership with families and communities who share in the profits and storytelling. Last month we received our first trademark approval for a line of plus-size formal wear inspired by West African royal attire. The irony was not lost on me that Derek, who had tried to steal my work by claiming it could not be copyrighted, had never bothered to protect his own supposed intellectual property. But the real victory was not legal or financial. It was personal. It was the relationships I had rebuilt, the trust one had restored, and the knowledge that I had faced a serious threat to everything I cared about and come out stronger on the other side. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Derek had just talked to me honestly about his concerns, if he had proposed a legitimate partnership instead of resorting to theft and fraud. We might have built something together, something that honored both his marketing skills and my creative vision. But then I look around our studio and see Kimmy training a new seamstress, or I read testimonials from customers who feel beautiful and confident in our designs, or I review scholarship applications from young designers who remind me of myself 5 years ago, and I realize that everything worked out exactly as it was supposed to. Derek's betrayal was painful, but it also taught me valuable lessons about trust, family, and the importance of protecting what you have worked hard to create. It showed me that authentic relationships and genuine customer loyalty are worth more than any marketing strategy or quick profit scheme. And most importantly, it taught me that family bonds, even when strained and complicated, are worth fighting for. Kimmy and I lost 3 years because we were both too proud to reach out, too hurt to forgive, too stubborn to see past our own perspectives. Derek's manipulation could have driven us apart permanently, but instead it forced us to confront our issues and remember what really mattered. Now, when I look at our business success, I do not just see financial growth or customer satisfaction ratings. I see the restoration of something precious that I thought I had lost forever, my relationship with my sister. I see the validation of values I have always held dear, authenticity, respect for cultural heritage, and commitment to quality craftsmanship. And I see proof that sometimes the worst things that happen to you can lead to the best outcomes, if you are willing to learn from them and fight for what is right. Derek thought he could steal my work, manipulate my family, and build a successful business on lies and fraud. He was wrong about all of it. In the end, authenticity always wins over imitation, and genuine relationships always triumph over manipulation. The customers who matter will always choose the real thing over a cheap knockoff, and the people who love you will always choose truth over convenient fiction. I am not naive enough to think that Derek was the last person who will try to take advantage of me or my business. Success always attracts predators, and being a black woman entrepreneur means facing additional challenges and skepticism that others do not have to deal with. But I am confident now in ways I was not before Derek's betrayal. I know how to protect my intellectual property, how to build authentic partnerships, and how to recognize the warning signs of manipulation and fraud. Most importantly, I know that I do not have to face these challenges alone. I have Kimmy as my business partner and sister. I have loyal customers who believe in what we are building, and I have a network of fellow entrepreneurs who understand the struggles and celebrate the victories. Derek tried to isolate me and make me doubt myself, but his scheme ultimately connected me more deeply to my community than ever before. As I write this, it is October again, almost exactly 1 year since Derek's theft was exposed. This Halloween, Kimmy and I will be attending the same Oakland costume party where we celebrated our first successful collaboration 12 months ago. But this time we will be wearing new designs from our upcoming spring collection, elegant evening gowns inspired by traditional Ethiopian royal attire, created in partnership with a textile artist in Addis Ababa who will receive 20% of all profits from the line. The party will be filled with customers wearing our costumes, each piece representing hours of careful research, respectful collaboration, and skilled craftsmanship. Some will be wearing pieces from our heritage collection, designs that honor specific family traditions and cultural practices. Others will be wearing our signature plus-size pieces, costumes that make women feel powerful and beautiful regardless of their body type. And somewhere in Portland, Derek will probably be working late at whatever job he managed to find after his marketing career imploded, maybe wondering what might have been if he had chosen honesty over manipulation, partnership over theft. I hope he has learned from his mistakes and found a way to build something legitimate and meaningful. But mostly, I just do not think about him anymore. Because I have learned that the best revenge against someone who tries to steal your dreams is to make those dreams so successful, so authentic, and so deeply rooted in genuine relationships that no amount of fraud or manipulation can touch them. Derek stole my costumes, but he could not steal my creativity. He manipulated my sister, but he could not destroy our family bond. He copied my designs, but he could not replicate the heart and soul that made them special. In the end, that is what separated my business from his knockoff operation. It was not just about the quality of the fabrics or the skill of the construction, though those things mattered. It was about the intention behind each piece, the respect for cultural heritage, the commitment to making all women feel beautiful, and the authentic relationships with customers who became part of our extended family. Those are the things that cannot be stolen or copied or mass-produced in a factory. Those are the things that make a business more than just a way to make money. And those are the things that will ensure Okafor Sisters design continues to thrive long after people have forgotten that Derek Chen ever existed. The stolen Halloween business taught me that success is not just about protecting what you have built, it is about building something so authentic and meaningful that it becomes impossible to replicate. And sometimes, the people who try to tear you down end up showing you exactly how strong you really are.